what is yoga and what is the goal of yoga?
I thought I would read out the first three stanzas of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the father of yoga. And he had these things called aphorisms. They were so short, so compact, you can call them the instructions or the instruction manual for yoga. Before I launch into it, let's see what the person who gave us yoga has to say about it. And for those of you who don't know, Patanjali was considered a rishi, an enlightened sage in ancient India. The first aphorism or statement, I'll say it in Sanskrit, but then I'll give you a English translation, and there are many. Atha Yoga Anusasanam. So it actually translates to now, therefore, complete instructions regarding yoga. That's the first statement. That's it. It's that terse. The second sutra, Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha, to block or still the patterns of consciousness is yoga. That's the second one. And the third one is Tada Drishtu Swarupe Avasthanam. The seer is established or abides in his own essential nature. These are the first three. Where you start, what is it, and where you end up are the first three. So let's look at each one. Now, therefore, complete instructions regarding yoga. Atha Yoga Anusasanam. The fact that he starts saying now, therefore, the therefore implies that some degree of preparation has been done before you can try to engage in this process called yoga. The other key takeaway is it is a conscious choice of self-imposed discipline. You cannot enter this process called yoga unless you make a conscious choice and you willingly discipline yourself to enter and stay in this process. So you can already see that I define yoga as a process, and you have to engage in it. So that's the first. The second one says, Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha, to still the patterns of consciousness is yoga. So the process involves stilling these patterns that exist in consciousness. So to expand this will take other background, but let us take that statement and move on to the third one. It culminates in the seer or the yogi being established in their natural essential nature. Your own swarupa, which is your essence, yourself, the core of what you are. If you take it from three, work back to one, the goal of this process is to have you abiding, resting in your essential nature. From that, you can see if you take just the word yoga and you translate it as union or yoke or to link. Yoga is a process that takes your consciousness, and links it by stilling the patterns in it, thereby allowing you to rest in or experience your essential nature. And to do this, you enter a process of self-imposed discipline. Only when you enter it through that viewpoint do you stay with the process. So then there are many threads left here, so I'll try to start. Why does it have to be self-imposed? Well, what other ways does one enter yoga? There are a few ways in which one enters yoga. You're doing well in life and you're curious. Consciousness is always seeking to expand. And as a result of that curiosity, you become intellectually stimulated by learning new things. And yoga is something that draws your curiosity. So you enter yoga through curiosity of intellect. Another way you can enter yoga is life's not going so well. Life's beating the heck out of you with a 2x4. And then you take refuge in yoga. Any port in a storm, God is a good one. And you don't quite like the way of God you were brought up with, or you were taught, or is in your culture, or whatever it is. This seems a benign version of discovering God or taking refuge. So you came to yoga through that. You took refuge. A third way is yoga is happening to you, a natural process of evolution of your consciousness is happening to you. Nature is doing it. And so, as part of that natural process, as you go through life, tied to the solar cycle as it applies to you, specifically your soul, every 3, 6, or 9 years or 12 years, you get 1 year of sattva, of a consciousness which is ascending, uplifting, rising to higher levels. And when that portion of the cycle occurs, your thoughts naturally are lifted upwards, and you wonder, and you seek, and you go and learn meditation, and you learn this, and you do this, and then after the year passes, by the second year, life sucks you back in, and you forget about God, and you go back to whatever it is you were doing before. That's a third way. And the last way is you have reached that stage in the evolution of your soul or your consciousness where it's time to make the turn from expansion in matter to becoming aware of source and where you came from, what you are in truth. What is all this life about? Those kind of things bubble up, but they are driven not because of your 1 year sattva cycle, but because your soul has grown tired of being in the background, bound by the chains of your emotions, your desires, and your mind, and is looking to step forward to take its rightful place as master of this vessel. That, for most people, suddenly shows up as an awakening, an experience that turns your life upside down, shatters. It all depends on which component you awaken in, shatters your mind, shatters your intellect, shatters everything, and leaves you completely flabbergasted and flummoxed. At that point, if you have access to real spiritual information or you find a true guide, you will get onto the spiritual journey. When you awaken, at that point that you awaken, you actually found it. But then, lacking knowledge or proper direction, you think you've lost it. And then you start seeking. You want that experience that you had, and you are willing to do anything to get that back. So that's the fourth way. And in that way, when you enter, you are relentless. Because what is making the journey is not your intellect, your desire, your curiosity. It is your soul impelling you forward relentlessly. You might take a break of a year, you might have kids, you might have family, you might go through illness. It will never back off. It will give you a break, but it will never back down. And then you will throw yourself forward willingly. So you have to enter this process willingly. And to abide in your natural state, your essential nature, the way is to still the patterns in consciousness that wail you. What you are is consciousness. The thoughts, the vital desires, the emotion, they're all portions of that consciousness, modified or operating in certain ways, fixed ways that are looped to create patterns. What you are in truth is that same consciousness, but completely unbound, completely free, not looped, with no ingrained patterns, infinite. That is really the game you're playing. God, if you will, or must, is playing hide and seek with herself. And she hid herself in an infinite number of ways so that she could revel in the joy of finding herself over and over and over again as each one of us